Hi, this is James Garden at CineTechGeek, and today we're going to talk about innovation and how it can really save us from what's happening with the COVID crisis. Obviously, the industry is under huge pressure, with the change in the way that people's habits are. They're not going to the cinema as much. When will they return? Will they return? There's so many questions to be asked, and in this presentation, I'm going to go quite quickly. There's a brief slideshow, then we're going to go into actually demonstrating some innovative technologies that I've developed myself and how it is helping the industry, and how to open other people's eyes to potentially adopting innovative ideas, and because it is time to try and improve our model of how we run the cinema industry, because we need to really improve our productivity to battle the changing and cost models that are coming. So let's get into the presentation. So I'll just start here. So first of all, the CineTechGeek website, please go there to have a look at a list of all the videos I've made over the years. But you can also go to the CineTechGeek YouTube channel, and you've also got the latest uploads there. These Resolve ones have actually been quite popular, and I also recommend this RDD252. There's also a lot of innovation with that there, so and how that will improve us doing some processes in the cinema industry. But let's get straight into the presentation and have a look at what we're going to talk about here. I'll go for it quite quickly. I don't want to bore people, and want to get to the demo because I think the demo is more interesting. So first of all, I do not make videos all the time, so I recommend you subscribe and hit the bell, so when I do make videos, these videos are specifically targeted at the cinema industry and people who work in the industry and should be knowledgeable, etc., know what's happening, so they make a better informed decision of how they're going to deal with things. And that's so important now in the COVID crisis. Now, what's the quick overview? What are the challenges? We'll do that very quickly. What is innovation? So we'll talk about what that actually means, and how that affects the industry, and what sort of things you'd expect. Why does it take a crisis for the exhibition to innovate? That's an interesting topic. We'll visit that very quickly, and then we'll go straight into a demonstration of some technology I've been developing, which helps me and a number of small cinema owners in Australia to save money and time through some innovative technology. So let's get into it. The challenges are obviously the end of the VPF, which happened before the crisis, had made a lot of new things happen in terms of the way we do distribution, especially in small cinema. So that's something we need to take on board even before the crisis happened. But obviously the crisis has really changed people. At the moment we've got a bit of a winter. We're going through a winter where people aren't going to the cinema so much, and they've developed alternative habits which we have to pull back. They've got masks and other things. There's a worry by families, etc., going to the cinema due to the virus issues, etc. And those things will work out over the time, but it'll be quite a while, and we'll have reduced attendance during those stages. And also, obviously, access to content has been reduced because the exhibitors or the studios want to guarantee their return on their films by releasing them at the best possible time to actually achieve that, and that's not at the moment, is it? And the ramifications of that are, obviously, Disney declares they are a streaming first company. Interesting changing in the way that they're looking at the business. They're taking films directly to streaming at this stage, mainly to bolster the Disney Plus, making sure they're one of the mainstays for streaming going forward. In terms of, there's only going to be a small handful. Netflix has already won one position, and Disney wants to also make sure that they're at the second place or near to it. So there's a bit of a fight there with all the major studios trying to make sure that their streaming services are at the top of the rank. They've also, obviously, doing this, they've moved some releases directly to series, like Mandalorian, from my understanding, initially was going to be a movie, but it is no longer. And there are quite a few other films which, from my understanding, have been slated that were going to be movies, but now are being turned into series for Disney Plus. So that's not great for exhibition. And Universal too is getting into this by modifying the release window from 90 days down to 31 days. 17 for a film that is under $50 million in the first week in the US, and 31 if it makes over $50 million. So a massive reduction in the time that we have to make money from the films. Also means that, especially for a lot of smaller cinemas and what used to be called second-run cinemas, well, they're pretty much history. We really need to make sure that every exhibitor, no matter big or small, gets access to the content on date of release. Otherwise, we will lose quite a lot of those smaller locations if that is not the case. So that's an interesting development that's going to happen. So we're going to in the next few slides, attendance in established markets was already trending down in established markets, and we're going to go over that. And due to that, there was already some transition on its way, but the COVID crisis has really accelerated. So COVID turns a 10-year transition into an overnight transformation, and that's one of the big things we're really facing here, and we have to get our heads around. So let's keep going. So quickly, just look at some of the trends that make us know that's happening. So this is the attendance in the US. The red line's the profit, which is going up, which is really nice. But the blue line is the number of people buying tickets, which is going down, has been going down for the last 20 years. And there's a bigger that gap becomes between the tickets sold and the price. You know, the less value for money it would probably be for the consumer, and it's a get into a vicious cycle there. And this is one of the reasons why some of this innovative stuff that I'm talking about today actually started before COVID, but COVID has basically made it very important going forward, because we really need to engage into innovative practices to help make our cinemas more profitable in this era. So this is the Australian version of the same thing. Now you actually see here that across the top for the last 20 years, it's actually, you could really put a flat line there. The only problem with that is Australia's population has grown 15% over the last 10 years, which is just the last year, and you'll that's not really what we want to see. We want to see a 15% growth at the same time to match our population growth. So in real terms, the people are going to the cinema on average less, which is also something we need to change to alleviate. So what can exhibitors do to reverse or mitigate this trend? So reverse it, maybe not, but if we can't reverse it, maybe we can do things to improve the situation for us and lift our profitability by becoming more productive in other ways. So this is the question of the moment, because this is the crisis of the moment. So innovation. So what can we do with that? So what can we do? Let's have a look at innovation first and what it is. Disruptive innovation refers to, and I hope we are talking about disruptive, because we really need that sort of change in which by new products or services create new markets. Very interesting sentence at the bottom. Disruptive innovations are critical to long-term success of business, and that's what we're really looking at here. Cinema is quite old and nothing has changed in our models for quite a long time, and as you can see, there's trending down in some other issues, and we are a bit worried about the future of our industry. So we really need to bring in some innovation to change the way we do cinema to adapt to the new way the world is. The world has changed a lot. Cinema has not over the last 20-30 years, so it's time we get on with it. This is another version of it. In business theory, disruptive innovation is an innovation that creates a new market or value network, or eventually disrupts an existing market in the value network, displacing established market-leading firms, products, or alliances. So what does that mean? Well, basically means we need to do what we're doing sort of similar, but differently, in other ways which may, achieve the same outcome, but doing it with a completely different way. So, web technologies, for example, is a very big, a lot of companies, web technologies have really disrupted those industries, made them more cost effective and made them much more capable, like Ubers and Lyft and other technologies or companies that do that are using those technologies to really change the way we do things like ride sharing. Why does it take a crisis for cinema exhibition to innovate? Well, the reason for that is, the industry has been self-regulated for quite a lot of years, and it's pretty much been very happy with the way the business is run. And those in control of the industry simply wanted things to stay the same, because they were, sitting on pretty much a good thing, and they wanted to keep that good thing going as long as possible. So when a change does occur, though, if the industry has been holding back due to they're trying to keep things status quo, for example, the Kodak is an example of what may have happened there. You don't want to hold it back too far, because when it does break, or that bubble does burst, there'll be quite a lot of innovation, and potentially it could also very much disrupt that industry. So we need to really take that on board and start seeing how we can take on those innovative technologies and other bits to improve our industry, and just moving forward, just trying to support as many people as possible in that era. Now we're going to go into the tool. That's the presentation pretty much. I don't want to get it too boring, of course, and we'll get into that now. So before we continue, let's go into, okay. So this is a tool that I wrote that partly helps me run my own cinema locations, but it's made available to other people in the small cinema owners in Australia. Now, this tool may be available, I make this tool available to other regions of the world if they want to. It's free to the Australians because I actually support it because of the running of my cinemas. But if other places in the world want to adopt some of these technologies, I'd be happy to help them out there. But they would need to pay the way for the outgoings of doing such a service. But let's go into an example of this tool. Actually, does quite a lot of things. Because I wrote this off, I've got access to everything. But we're really going to be looking at the main tool here is the release tool or the booking app. This tool is used to basically have a look at what's going on. Now, there are some tools which do this, but this is more of a tool which is totally built for helping someone who runs a cinema have a better understanding and quickly go through what's coming out when and what to schedule where. So obviously you've got the time, you've got all the films, you've got it. Basically, when you do it, you set the time frame that you're looking at. There's quite a lot of data, so you have to filter it down to the time frame that you want. Loads it into the app, and obviously you can click on any particular film and you'll get some information about it. So in this situation here, you click on the film and you'll get all the data you want. You can watch a video, go to IMDb's, etc. Get all the information you probably want to look at as a cinema owner. And then if you like the film, actually you'll see here it's got a green mark here because I've already booked it. So I might have another film here, this one, and I might decide that I want to book this film, and I would then mark it at the locations I want to book it. So I'll put it into Federation, for example, and I push OK. But I could also say I want to book it for lots of different locations. And you go through there and you can have a look at all the future films and what you might want to look at. It goes as far as you want into the future, and basically this is updated automatically. And is updated based on what the distributors push into the MPAA database in Australia. And each country typically has a source of truth. I'll put the video up for what's been released and when. And this updates based on this, and then creates all the metadata automatically by scanning the web and making sure it matches up the films with the data. So once you've gone through and you can see all the films when they're coming out and how relative that they are to each other, the ratings when they're made available will appear here automatically as well. You can, for example, completely filter down to a particular distributor. You can actually make your own filters by just configuring the filters here and how you want to make them, and program your own filters. You can also just filter them out here. So I might want to say I want to see the spy film, and so that's the only film that'll show up, and down below it's the only film which you'll finish. Or you can say I just want to see all the G ratings. Let's go back to turning off Rialto, and we'll see anything that's got G rated in it will appear in the timeline. So all those sort of things can be very helpful in terms of trying to figure out what's happening in different genres, and all those sort of things which may help you do your scheduling. So we'll turn that off. But now once you've done all that, that's very helpful in itself. But obviously you want to now book it. So traditionally, just back here when you're releasing, distributors will send out spreadsheets with when their releases are happening, and a lot of exhibitors I know, they actually go through each spreadsheet. They come out from all the distributors each week, and then they'll apply it to their own master spreadsheet. I can't believe that takes so much time for them to do that. This just happens automatically, is there when you log in, and all the latest data will be there. And so you don't have to do any of that paperwork and dealing with spreadsheets, etc. Massive saving of time if you are managing a cinema, especially a small cinema, where running a big cinema and a small cinema takes a similar amount of time in terms of doing that sort of paperwork. So for small cinemas, this is an incredibly useful tool to try and reduce the amount of time you do on this, and you can actually utilize on doing your marketing. So when you do all your scheduling, you then have the booking tool. So you'll see here that all the green ones have been booked and have been approved by the studios, and all the new ones. So I put this one in just before. I said I wanted to book it, and it comes here, and it's a new item. And then if I click on it, I then get the item down here, and then I can say I'm going to make her an offer on that item. I'm going to say I'm making an exhibitor offer, and I want to play it on week 1. You select the week here. That's the date that's going to happen. You can add your minimum guarantee and your policy and your terms, or the distributor may come back with that. You say create offer, and then you can say hello and do your email and put the email of the other person who the offer is to at the studios. I'll go to something that we've already done. So, for example, something from Disney, and you'll see there's only a few things still in the recent time frame which are still active, and you'll see the terms and conditions there, and you'll also see that all the films that we have booked, it actually keeps track of all the offers and all the changes in the offers as you're going through them. So I can click on onward, and you'll see there's just 2 offers that are there, and if it isn't completely booked out yet, I can just hit here again and change it and resubmit the offer. And that keeps track of everything. It emails everyone what's going on, really nice and pretty emails with this stuff in it already. And that really helps me keep track of, what I'm offering to who, and all the other films I'm offering to them, all the other films from other distributors I'm offering to everyone else, and brings it all together into a single interface. And you can really see I've got multiple sites, so here I can see multiple locations and what's been booked for each of those particular sites. So that's a tool which, we'll go back to here, and we'll we'll just show this frame again. So actually full screen. So that tool is basically, from what I see, I can basically schedule and do all the data analysis of the films extremely quickly in a fraction of the time it would have taken me traditionally, or a cinema who's still running on the old Excel spreadsheets which come in the email every day or so, and trying to keep track of the changes, etc., that are happening on a particular film. And especially at this stage, there's been a lot of films been moving around because of the COVID. The films are jumping all over the place. That will be reflected in here, and you'll get indications of films that are now opening. Instead of on the week 1, it'll say it's actually now on week -3, which means it's you're actually trying to get an approval for 3 weeks before its new official date, and all those sort of things. So those things really help. When they do change, you get indications of it and other aspects. Now, this is only one of the aspects. You'll see there's lots of other menus in that dCinema tool, which are coming along, which we'll make available for free to some more users as they become more bulletproof and end user ready. They've been developed by specifically me for my company, and so we know how to deal with all the quirks that they may have. But once you put things actually out into the open, you need to take a little bit more care, so they're a little bit more bulletproof, and that takes time. And I haven't really, I'm really trying to work heavily on these tools at the moment because the industry is in such a need, and there's a lot of stuff happening, and I want to make sure that we lose as few of the small cinemas as possible due to the changing windows and other pressures that are on them. So allowing them to be, jump in efficiency due to innovation to reduce their costs and running the site will give them a far better chances of surviving the COVID crisis over the next year or so. So that's why innovation is so important to us now, and we must all start talking about how we can become more effective and more innovative and do more with less, specifically for small cinemas in our industry, because small cinemas very much make up a bit of the passion of our industry, because a lot of people who run small cinemas do it because they're passionate about it more than anything else, and that passion really comes through in how they run their cinemas and how they deal with their patrons and how they spend so much time curating the content specifically for the patrons that they talk to every day. So very important to the culture of cinema, in my opinion. So we really need to keep small cinema going, and who knows, a small cinema may be a big part of the future of cinema based on the efficiency of having more small cinemas and more locations. Who knows? But yes, let's have a look at what we can do. Anyway, that's James Gardner, the CineTechGeek, on innovation in cinema and how it will improve us or improve everything. We can see innovation in cinema advertising and other aspects. I've got a few other tools. If you want to contact me and suggest the sort of innovation you'd like to see in small cinema, like I have got an automatic signage system in the works. I've got lots of other things to do, but that has started development. Potentially tools to make it easier to do cinema advertising. Is that interesting? I don't know. Like, what do you want as small cinema owners? Do you think could really help you? Be better service to your community, and allow you to survive in these difficult times. So get back to me, James Gardner, the CineTechGeek. Bye for now. Really love to hear from you guys. Catch up.